We do have a pretty full agenda today, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. I really appreciate everybody being here today. My name is Corey Ferguson, and I'm with the Ohio Department of Developmental Disabilities, and I focus on family outreach and education. I'm excited to have all of you here for Family Advisory Council. As we get started here, if you have not used the Microsoft Teams platform before, this is kind of a diagram of how you can turn your video on and off, as well as how you can unmute yourself as well. We do have a chat, and you're welcome to use the chat if you have questions or comments you'd like to put in there. We do encourage you to use the video feature, and we ask that you're muted so that everybody has a really good call quality. This session is being recorded, so I wanted to share that with you as well. And for our agenda today, we are going to get an update on adult day services. Our POD. We're going to also discuss.
Do you want to hear this at all?
We are also going to have a Medicaid update from our Division of Medicaid Development Administration, a housing update, a couple of updates from our partners, as well as some family updates, and then an opportunity to interact with the ODD leadership. We're really excited about this opportunity for all of you to be here, because it gives us a chance to kind of share what we're doing here, as well as an opportunity to hear from everybody who's attending here as well. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to turn it over to Stacy Collins, who's going to provide an update from our employment and community life. Good afternoon, Stacy.
Hi, Corey. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. It's wonderful to be here with you this afternoon. As Corey said, I'm Stacy Collins. I'm with our Division of Policy and Strategic Direction, and I lead our quality and innovation team. And so I'm here today to just give you some adult day updates. I do have a PowerPoint for you, and so I'm going to get that up on the screen really quick, and I hope that you are seeing that. Corey, if you can confirm that you're seeing that. Fantastic. So just some updates I wanted to provide all of you. It's kind of really 4 different things. One, an update around our blueprint for Adult Day and Employment Services Work Group. That is the work group that's working on implementing and deciding changes on the Adult Day array to really improve our Adult Day employment and transportation services for people with developmental disabilities. Want to share a few resources around employment first. Want to give some updates around technology first, and then put some resources in the chat for you that I hope are helpful. In regards to Blueprint, this is the group that we have met with you about a couple different times, getting input or feedback, and we are currently in implementation. So we have 3 teams that are working on implementing the blueprint proposal that is available online for you, and I'll put that in the chat after my presentation if you're wanting to find the blueprint proposal and look at it so that you know what work these teams are doing. You can see that, but we are currently in implementation. We've got a rule and a waiver team, a training and technical assistance team, and an actual communications team. We do have 2 contracts groups that are working with us on this. One is for training. The Ohio Center of Autism and Low Incidence is helping us on training materials and communication materials. And then the group Milliman is working with us on the actual rule and waiver work. Our next rule and waiver team meeting is actually this afternoon at 1 o'clock. This just gives you a quick overview of what the rule and waiver team will be working on over the next several months, even up to a year. Our first priority is looking at our Adult Day support service, looking at that service design, looking at the rate, looking at the impact fiscally to the system and to people. We plan on 6 meetings around this topic, and we are projected to have kind of a completed plan for our Adult Day support service by August of 22. I'm giving you dates today, and I just like to go over it. These are our projected dates. If those dates change, we will give you updates when we have our next Family Advisory Council meeting, and we'll also give regular updates through our communication channels of what's going on with Blueprint. After we go into Adult Day support, our next work will then start with the employment packages and the employment array of services that we have available through our home and community-based waivers. we will begin working on our pre-vocational service, which is called Basic Employment Skills Training, and that service next. And we hope to have an agreement and a plan by November of 22 for that. And then we'll be moving into our supported employment services with those projected to be completed by May of 2023. And then ongoing throughout our work, we will be talking about quality. So just wanted to give you some updated timelines for those of you that have been tracking this work. That is where we are. And again, if you do have any questions, reach out. Wanted to just let everybody know over this next year, we're going to be spending a lot of time celebrating 10 years of Employment First in Ohio, and people who have obtained jobs, family members who've supported their loved ones to get jobs, supporting our providers and coaches and county boards on helping people get jobs. And so we're spending a lot of time making sure we're connecting with people and telling stories and sharing resources that are available to people who are interested in working in community employment. In regards to just some resources, I wanted to just point your way is always going to the Ohio Employment First website, because there are resources on there for students and people with disabilities. There's resources on there for families, as well as our system of support, our county boards and providers. And these are just a couple I wanted to point your way. The website is listed here. We have multiple different resources around transition planning. And if we are supporting somebody, a loved one who is in school and they're working to transition to adulthood, we have two resources I wanted to point out: an agency navigation tool and a pathway from school to employment folder. These are two resources there to really help in the conversation and that journey, and knowing all the different agencies that can support somebody, as well as what are the different conversations or things to think about at different ages. So those resources are there. We also have the Community Life Guide, which is a resource for a person with a disability to talk about work, to talk about what does adulthood look like. It just has different training modules and different topics that a person can go through independently, or they absolutely could go through with support, depending on what they need. And then another piece of resource I wanted to share is we've been working collaboratively with disability benefit specialists, as well as the Ohio Association of County Boards, in doing some training around benefits and work, because it's just really complicated. And so I wanted to share a link to you on some pre-recorded webinars that our team has done. They've actually done them live, but recorded them, that really just talks about all the different components about benefits and employment, and attempts to just really confront fears about losing benefits due to employment. So I'll put that in the chat for you. And then we just got some updated videos about what employment has meant for people and what it looks like, and we wanted to point it in your way. So those resources are there for you. Again, I'll put them in the chat, and I know that Corey will get you my presentation as well, so that you can get the links directly from my PowerPoint. In regards to technology first, you're welcome, Julie. In regards to technology first, I just wanted to make sure to point out to our families here today that we do have a new technology first rule that was effective in April of 22. And what that actually means is it is a rule that does have requirements for our county boards of developmental disabilities and our intermediate care facilities in Ohio around person-centered planning and talking with people about what's possible with technology and exploring technology to meet needs. The rule does not mean that every person needs to be utilizing technology, but what we are hoping is that our teams get the training and the support that they need to start having conversations about what's possible with technology and how can technology support someone. So just wanted to call your attention to that rule. We do have training materials online. We have done a webinar that is available to you, and we'll continue over the next year to do in-person trainings and virtual trainings around the rule and what it means. But it is really around person-centered planning and conversations and how we're exploring technology to meet needs. So wanted to send that information your way. And then we do have just some resources around technology first I wanted to share with you. Again, I'll get all of this in the chat. One is our Ohio Tech Ambassadors, which I know George is here today, so I'm not going to say much because George will take it on. But really around peer mentorship. And we do have amazing tech ambassadors across the state who are talking about, what's possible with technology and how they use technology every day and how it's been beneficial to them. So George will talk more about that today. We do have some trainings available that are open to families as well around technology. One is we are currently in a contract with an organization called Shift, and we've got a couple more weeks of free training available through Shift around what's possible with technology. I would encourage families to consider and to look into the leadership technology training. And then we just released a couple weeks ago through DODD My Learning a supportive technology course that is free, that really just talks the basics about what is technology, what do we mean, what are the different levels of technology that could be used for somebody. And so I really encourage, I'll put that in the chat too. If you're interested in exploring more, it's just if there is time, right, to just check it out and see what's possible. So I wanted to share that resource with you. We are starting to do a monthly technology publication. And so I'm going to get the link for you in the chat on how to subscribe to our Technology First publication if you're interested in learning more and kind of us kind of reporting out on what's going on with Technology First. Please subscribe to that publication, and we will get them out the last week of every month. Just to really talk about different technology solutions, resources, and trainings geared for you. And then the last item I just wanted to share is we are partnering with the OSU Nysonger Center and AT of Ohio to put on a 2022 Technology Summit. It'll be on August 12th at the Renaissance Columbus Westerville Polaris Hotel. It's in person and registration is open. And so wanted to share that information with you. I know I just gave you lots of resources thrown your way. Want to be respectful of all the agenda items, Corey. So thanks everybody for letting me come, and I will make sure the chat gets loaded with everything, all the links I just went through quickly for you.
Thank you very much, Stacy. And one of the things I failed to mention early in our conversation was that I will send an email out with all the links and the resources for today's presentation so that you can find those easily and have them accessible for you as well. So thank you very much, Stacy. I appreciate it. Next on our agenda is we're going to hear from Nyoka Kratoff, who is with our Division of Medicaid. And coming up in July, we're going to have some self-directed transportation opportunities that families should be aware of. And Nyoka is going to provide us a presentation on that. So thank you very much, Nyoka. We appreciate it.
Sure. Hi, Corey. Thank you for having me. And I do want to start out by just pointing out to everyone that on our website, there are all of our July 1st waiver changes available. There's lots of resources. There are some videos and some PowerPoints available. So lots of general changes that are happening July 1st for the level 1 waiver, a couple for the self waiver. And as Corey indicated, the self-directed transportation service is actually coming to all 3 waivers. So we wanted to talk a little bit about this because as most of you know, I'm sure transportation is a need for everyone that we serve. So I want to get through this quickly in case people do have questions. But so essentially the home and community-based waivers have several transportation options currently, and none of those transportation services are going away. In fact, self-directed transportation is going to enhance the current services. So we currently have non-medical transportation, or NMT, which includes commercial non-medical transportation. And then many people refer to homemaker personal care transportation, but in our rules, it's just referred to as transportation. So those will continue to be available to people. Next slide, please, Corey. So who can benefit from self-directed transportation? So I'm not going to read this to you, but in general, what we hope is that people will be able to use self-directed transportation for after hours, weekends, evenings, holidays, anytime that they need. So those of you who use these other transportation, non-medical transportation in particular, oftentimes seems to be restricted to general business hours. We do have some providers, and we really appreciate it, that have extended to say 8 p.m. and things like that. But it's been very difficult to get some of these other services, into the late evenings, nighttime, weekends, and holidays. So that's what this service is going to be expanding to, really help people to get it on those off hours and more on demand. Next slide, please, Corey. So this is the definition in the new rule of self-directed transportation, which again, it's going to cover all services. So again, those of you that use the services know that non-medical transportation is somewhat restricted to the places that it can take you, because it was created to serve a very specific purpose for adult day services and work-related activities. So self-directed transportation will be available for any community activity or any place that a person may want to go and use for their waiver services. So this is just something that can really show the purpose. So we're hoping to be flexible. We're hoping to give people a greater pool of potential providers, because the other thing that we were trying to bridge a gap for people. And the other ask from the Blueprint group when this came to us was to help people get neighbors, friends, coworkers. We were really hoping to get people to not have to go through the entire certification process and be able to get people screened and able to provide services quicker. So we were really hoping to open up the provider pool. So get them greater access, it'd be more flexible, and provide more providers for people. So next slide, please. So there's essentially two ways to pay these providers, and two different types. One is that we're going to purchase prepaid vouchers, cards, passes for general public transportation. So there's that component. So people think about Uber, Lyft, bus passes, that kind of general public transportation. And then there's the other component, which would be my neighbor, friend, coworker. There would be reimbursement to those people that are going to assist me in transportation. So, and that's going to work from the person's person-centered budget. That would be from their waiver eligibility span. So again, here are some examples. So people could use an Uber, Lyft, or any other kind of general public transportation, a regional transit authority, family, friend, neighbor, or we can, people can use an already certified DD provider as well. We do still have the already existing limits on providers. So a parent or guardian may not provide to their minor child, except under Appendix K, that temporary allowance. And then any guardian of an adult, they do have to receive permission through probate court. And again, that's already an existing requirement. Next slide, please. So who can provide this service? So again, a vendor of ground transportation that's available to the general public, someone chosen by the person, and they would receive their per mile or per trip reimbursement. There is a written agreement that that person would have with the individual that's being transported, and they must bill through the FMS, or the Financial Management Service Company, and they would get paid through that company. And then again, an agency that's already, or independent provider that's already certified. This is just another visual to help understand the different segments that need to happen. So we have the FMS. The FMS does all of the billing and payment. They have to have the non-certified providers have to have a Medicaid agreement and also a signed agreement with the person receiving the transportation. The payment for those general public transportation providers is their UCR, usual customary rate. And for those non-general public providers, it's either per trip or per mile. Next slide, please. The independent providers, these are the requirements that they must meet. So they apply through the FMS, and then these are the requirements per rule. They are not able to have more than 6 points on their driver's license. They must have a valid driver's license, have liability insurance, and pass a background investigation. And we tried to match those up with what an Uber or Lyft driver has to have. And then current certified providers, essentially, we're going to expedite them through the FMS very quickly. So they'll be processed quickly. Yeah, they can build their UCR. Yeah, so we already talked about those things. And then the payment methods, again, we've already pretty much talked about these two. It's the UCR, the per mile, or the per trip. So we break this down several different ways because we get lots of questions about this over and over. So what types of different providers and how would each of them bill? Because it can get very confusing as far as who can do the UCR, who can do the per mile, and who can do the per trip. So we have this on the slide several different ways so that people can see it. We do have our waiver policy TA mailbox now to answer questions for people. And as I said, there are lots of resources. I think we did 20 some different resources. There are one-page kind of summary sheets. There are videos. There are PowerPoints like this. This is actually kind of a streamlined version of the self-directed transportation. There are all of the level 1 changes. There's lots of resources. So please don't hesitate to go on and look. Don't hesitate to reach out to the TA mailbox if you have questions. So anything that you need, ask. Certainly to get the service authorized, you need to work through your county board and your ISP team to let them know what you need and how much and all of that kind of thing, what the assessed need is. But any questions that you have, please reach out. Does anyone have any questions right now?
Do you see the chat there, Naoka? Okay.
Through a disability rec pro, we have 2 tickets to, yes. So you can either, depending on where you live, if you could use, well, first off, you need to work through your county board to get authorization, of course, through your ISP. But if you have like an Uber Lyft kind of thing, I don't know how far away these tickets are or where you live, but certainly any kind of public transportation that you have available. Otherwise, you could always work through with anyone that you know that you could get approved. Ravenna, about 45-minute drive. Yeah. I'm not sure what Emerald is. So yes, those are the kind of things you'll have to work through transport company. Yes, so you'll have to work with your team to see if you can find anything in your location that would work. If there is a transport company, I'm not familiar with the one you're naming. If there is a transport company that can work, that's something you can work with your team. Becky.
And Becky, if you have further questions, my email will be here at the end, and I'll email you out as well. And you can connect with me, and we can kind of help you work through this as well.
Sure. Yep.
Well, thank you very much, Naoka. We really appreciate your time in this update, and thank you for referencing those waiver services resources as well that are listed for those July changes. I think there is one other question. Are there changes to the IO waiver as well?
Right. The only real change to the IO waiver is this self-directed transportation is added to the IO waiver. So this will be available to people on the IO waiver as well. Otherwise, there are not really changes to the IO waiver. Okay.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Naoka. We appreciate it. As we continue on through our agenda here, next I am happy to introduce John Charles and Jeanette Welsh, who are with our housing unit. They are going to provide a brief overview of what the department's doing with housing. I know Jeanette may have been having technical issues earlier. I'm not sure if she was able to join us or she's with us by phone, but we're really excited to have both of you here. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Yes, we are having some technical difficulties, but I'm going to try and share my screen and we'll just make this work as best we can.
And I'm here too, Corey. I'm on the phone.
Great. Thank you so much.
Okay, so hopefully you can see my screen. Yes? Very good. Okay, so well, thank you for having us today. We're happy to join in and talk about housing and some of the work that we have been doing surrounding community housing. Again, my name's John Charles, and I'm the Capital Housing Administrator for the department. I have with me Jeanette Welsh, who's our housing manager. So since we are having some technical difficulties, I'm going to try and drive the slideshow here, and we'll just do the best we can. I did think it might be beneficial to the group if we could take a few minutes to talk about the programs that we offer within the Capitol office. I thought we could touch base on our plan to increase independent living options and perhaps share where to find the plan and other Capitol housing information on our website as well. So the Community Capital Assistance, most of you are probably familiar with the Community Capital Assistance Program, or better known as CCA. The program has been around since the early 1990s, and it's used by our county boards and their nonprofit corporations to buy, build, or renovate community housing for persons in our system. The community, let's see, sorry, I'm having troubles here. The Community Capital Assistance Program, it's been around since the early 1990s, 30 years. And over that time, we've developed over 1,700 homes and renovated 1,900 homes. This actual slide here is actually from 2017, so it doesn't really represent all the work done since the early 90s, but it does give you a glimpse how it has covered the state. Let's see here. Just to give you a glimpse of what we have been doing recently, this slide shows the FY 21-22 projects that we've done. You can see that we've done 59 counties have participated in the program this biennium. We've done well over 400 projects, and we've added 78 new home purchases to existing housing stock within the state of Ohio, and renovated over 300. And you can see to date we've awarded over $23 million to the community. If we can, we'll include Jeanette on our rental assistance program. Jeanette, are you there?
Okay. Hi, everyone. This is Jeanette Welsh. I'm going to pick it up with our rental assistance program. And the rental assistance program, DODD introduced this program around 2015. And this happened around the same time as Money Follows the Person was happening in our state. The program was created to assist individuals who were moving out of institutional settings and into community with their rent. And essentially what we were doing is creating a program that provided a bridge subsidy until individuals could obtain a more permanent or ongoing subsidy, either through their public housing authority or some other type of HUD subsidy. And so the target again for this subsidy is not just people leaving institutional settings, but people on waiver who are extremely low income, defined as individuals who are at or below 30% of the area median income. generally people on SSI are or fit that definition. Next slide, John.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so currently, right now, we only have 40 participating counties throughout Ohio. And what that means is that the boards in those counties have contracted with the department to participate in the rental assistance program. So what that means is they essentially prepay a set or determined amount of rent to the landlord, and then they invoice us in return for that contribution. And the way that we calculate this assistance is very much in line with how HUD would or how your public housing authority would. Essentially, people pay up to 30% of their income, and they also get a small utility allowance if they're responsible for utilities. And this, the only time that can change or waiver is when somebody is paying above the fair market rent. To date, right now, our average monthly subsidy is around $227 a month. So that would mean that the tenant would pay the remainder. Next slide, John. Okay, so I also wanted to just spend a couple of minutes talking about a program that is the DODD is in partnership with an interagency partnership with several different agencies. This program called the Ohio 811 program is also a subsidy program. It's unlike the DODD RAP program, which is a tenant-based subsidy, meaning that the tenant chooses where they're going to live. The 811 program is actually a project-based housing. So that means that the subsidy is tied to a particular unit. And our leader on this program is the Ohio Housing Finance Agency. If you're not familiar with them, they are the administrator of all tax credit housing in the state. So they essentially create and oversee the largest number of affordable units in Ohio. So all of the units in the 811 program that are dedicated are in fact tax credit units. The program has a footprint of about 36 counties currently. We are going to be adding additional counties with a new HUD grant that we just received. And this program operates a lot like our DODD program in that the subsidy is, capped at that 30%. I'm sorry, the tenant pays 30% of their income. The program, the demographic for this program is slightly different than our program in that it includes all persons with a HUD-defined disability, and those could be individuals not just with a diagnosis of a developmental disability, but again, any HUD-defined disability. And there are limits around the person's age. 18 is the floor level for the person's age, and the person cannot be more than 61. This is pretty typical of HUD programs where they are trying to serve a non-elderly disabled population. Just a couple of other requirements of the program. Individuals are required to be on Medicaid, and again, they need to be in that very low income category. So this is a program that we've had a lot of success with. In this next slide, John, I see you've updated it to include our current dedicated units. So right now we have, when we wrote the grant, we planned to have 485 units of housing to serve Ohioans. We currently have 476 units committed, and what that means is that those units have a contract on them. They may or may not be available at the moment. We actually have 200, as of today's meeting, we have just shy of 300 people living in those units. And this program has really been, it is a demonstration program. We've learned a lot from it. A lot of the, I think, obstacles that individuals do encounter as they move into community, we've been able to take note of as we have followed individuals, in this program. And what's interesting about this program, as well as the RAP program, is, go ahead to the next slide, John. is that so much of what we've learned from these programs, and including Capital too, is captured within our housing plan. We're not going to go and do a deep dive into the housing plan today, but we did want to just get kind of the 6 main goals out there in front of you. And we're also going to provide a link to the plan so you can look at it. And we're hoping Corey will bring us back in the future when we have more time to actually cover the plan in a little bit more depth. But essentially, all of the learnings, all of the things that we've known, whether they have been coming directly from program learnings or sometimes even just we learn these things almost, just through, I guess, conjecture in a way. But all of these things are included in the plan. Our goals are expand the inventory of affordable and accessible rental units. Affordable units, when they're not accessible, are not entirely helpful. So we really want to emphasize that accessibility piece. We do feel we need an increased access to rental subsidies. Just as a byline there or a tagline, I mean, 25% of individuals who qualify for a subsidy actually get one, and that's the HUD stat. So as you can tell from that statistic, there's a lot of unmet need there. We also want to build understanding and increase awareness of informed choices. And to that end, we'll be conducting some trainings at the end of this year to just kind of talk about things like how to navigate housing options at the local level. And I think as people understand what people need to look at when they're searching for housing, and then again match that up with what the options are, this will just be made a bit more simple. We also want to look at what are the policies or practices that need to change related to services. And, John and I both will submit to you that, this isn't our expert area. We draw upon the expertise of our colleagues when it comes to this piece. Removing challenges to independent living, we know they exist. There are always challenges around fair housing, sometimes zoning laws, things like that, just to pull out a few things. And then lastly, we want to make sure that we not just implement our plan, but that we're constantly assessing it. The landscape has shifted so much these last couple of years underneath us that we know that we have to be adaptable, we have to be nimble, we have to be able to pivot. And that is, what we plan to do with this housing plan. So that's just, again, just really more of a thumbnail sketch and certainly not a deep dive. But John, if you go to the next slide, you can share the link to our housing page, which has our web page, which has links to the different programs we've talked about today, including, the CCA program, our rental assistance program, as well as the Ohio 811 program. But if you look to the right, there is a link to the written plan. So I'm going to stop there, hoping that my internet holds out, and see if anyone has questions.
Thank you very much, Jen and John. We do have a couple of questions in the chat that I'll read off, and we also have somebody in the audience with a hand up. We'll get to you very shortly. The first question we have is, what happens when someone ages out of the 811 program?
I'll take that. So first of all, the beauty of some HUD programs is that once you get in, you don't get out. So if you get into the program at or before your 62nd birthday, then you cannot be asked to leave. What we do is in our program, on our site, which is actually our wait list for the program, we monitor for age. So we're always looking if somebody is getting close to that age, and we're trying to see if we can find a matching unit for them. Of course, we have to go in the order of the wait list, but we really pay attention to that, and we try to rush those ones where there might be a birthday coming up. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, thank you very much. And then the other question we have is, there was a press release recently from the governor funding community capital assistance program for housing options for folks with developmental disabilities across the state. Will any of these programs being highlighted today benefit from some of this funding?
Yes, so the CCA program, Community Capital Assistance Program, the governor just announced we'll be receiving 25 million. So that is terrific. That's a historical amount. So it'll continue the work we have been doing, really since the 90s. So we're very appreciative from the legislatures on, supporting, our system.
Thank you, John. And Patricia in our audience has her hand raised. I'd like to give her a chance. Hi, Patricia. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I have a question about parents who are aging out and who already have their loved ones living at home with them, who've lived in the community that they've always lived in. How does these programs assist parents who want that individual to remain in that home, once they're no longer here?
In your own home? Is that
Yes.
right, Patricia?
Yes, yes.
I'm not sure that currently, at least in of the resources that I work with, which are the mainstream resources in the community, that there is necessarily, I guess a befitting solution for that situation. I just yesterday, and I'm going to say this, and I'm gathering more information. Okay, I did just yesterday hear that the city of Cincinnati was at the local level to provide some assistance to families who are, housing individuals with a disability, and trying to look into some sort of a payment for that. Now, that was through one of my colleagues. I was not part of that meeting, but I thought it was an interesting idea because obviously the Public Housing Authority very often will not help somebody who is assisting a family member in their home. They want to see that arm's length transaction. That we enter further into this housing crisis and people start to get a little bit more creative about, what we need to do. One thing I would encourage you to do, Patricia, is, our agency, of course, we, our main goal is to support housing, but we rely and look to our housing authorities to really help with that. So if you're interested in advocating, I would encourage you to get involved in some of the planning efforts at the local level. They don't want to just hear from businesses and people like that. They want to hear from constituents and people who are affected. So I'll just go back to you and say, what county do you live in?
I live in Cuyahoga County.
Okay, you're in Cuyahoga County, and that is certainly one of the most affected or impacted counties. I understand that the wait list there is pretty much interminable, but I'll tell you what, Patricia, why don't you just shoot me an email? Let's talk offline about this, okay? Because I think I want to just get into your situation a little further and see if there's anything I can recommend.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, and my email's in the PowerPoint, I believe.
It is. I will pull it up now.
The chat.
Any other questions for our housing team with us today? I did see we had a comment in the chat that the housing options guide created by the Hamilton County Board with options that apply across the state. And it looks like there's a link there. And I will work to include this link in our follow-up email that'll come out to everybody who's registered.
And you know what? Just as a kudos to them, that is an excellent resource. So I'm sorry I failed to mention that.
And we have another hand up. Despina, how are you?
Yes, hi, how are you doing?
I'm
Thank you
well.
for the information. I agree with Patricia, the previous question, and that's mine too. We are elderly parents that we have our kids still at home. And I like to know if those programs have a limit in cohabitation in one home, can be supporting small units, or has to be 4 or more people in one unit. Thank,
So, um,
thank you.
so for the community capital assistance homes, they can
Mhm.
be one, but it can be no greater than four.
Okay, thank you. May I say something more? In Greene County, families, they got together and they developed a home. They built it at home for their individuals. And then the housing authority purchased that home. Do they have a warranty that these individuals will remain in that home all their life, or is in the discretion of the county to move them?
I'm not completely familiar with that particular project in Greene County. Um, I'm not sure what the housing authority's role is there. I understand that they purchased the home. I'm not sure who controls the wait list, if it's actually the county board or if it's controlled by the housing authority. So I'd probably need a little bit more information on that.
Okay, I will try to get in touch with you. Thank you very much.
Please do. I'd like to hear more.
Thank you, Despina. For the sake of time, we're going to go ahead and move on to some of our other presentations today. Jeanette's email has been up there for a while, and again, I can include it in a follow-up email with other resources and information. If you have specific questions, you can connect with her about that. One of the things that we've done within the department is we work closely with our medical director, Dr. Laura Sorg, and she's done a really phenomenal job of creating connections with other departments who are finding ways to support people with developmental disabilities. And I'm really excited to introduce Michael, who is joining us from the Ohio Department of Natural Resources, to talk a little bit about what they're doing within their department. How are you, Michael?
How are you, sir? Thank you very much, Corey, for allowing me to step in and kind of talk about what we're doing with the Department of Natural Resources here. Um, Again, my name is Mike Studeni, and I manage Wingfoot and Portage Lakes state parks throughout the Northeast district of the state. So we cover everything from Lake Erie all the way down to Mohican is kind of what our range is. And so I was asked, we have formed a disabilities network. And so I work very closely with fellow park managers and other folks throughout DNR, our agencies and different divisions. Aaron Lance, who's on, asked me to kind of put something together real quick to kind of talk about what we have done to be inclusive and to develop more of a relationship, obviously, with agencies like you guys. And so I'm going to do a real quick PowerPoint through it. It won't take very long, just to kind of give you some information on what we're doing to provide some access and abilities and things that we haven't necessarily been able to do in the past. So without that, I will pull this up if I can here and try to share my screen really fast. So I appreciate time. And just let me know if you can see this or not.
We can. Thank you, Michael.
Okay, great. Um, so I guess one of the things I wanted to start with is the why on what we do. I have been with ODNR for almost 17 years. I started out as a maintenance guy and drove 2 hours to work one way, had a young family and back and forth and did that for quite some time. Finally moved up closer to home. But the why about what we do is our passion. Okay, those are kind of 5 bullet points that I think us folks that get into this business, as well as yours, do. You're passionate about something, whether that be the community that you serve, the job that you have, all those kind of things. Um, and for me, it was I have a bachelor's degree in science from Kent State, and so I wanted to be outside. I wanted to be a person that was working in the lab and doing all those kind of things, and ultimately led me to managing parks and being like a little mayor sometimes. It seems like. So my passion was to work outside, hands on, and do those kind of things. Um, we talk about commitment. DNR has become committed to updating our facilities. A lot of our facilities are older, and they were way before any disabilities acts were put in places. So some of our facilities are hard to be accessible. And so we're committing to fixing that, and going through those things. The dedication piece, we want to be a voice for agencies like you. If there's something that your community and your folks are out and about and they see within ODNR and our facilities, we want to know about that, and we'd like to address that so we can work with our wonderful director that works with our legislative group to make these things happen. And so that's one of the big things. The other piece is education. We do a lot of things with boating safety and boaters. We have naturalists that do wonderful programming about kayaking and fishing and all those hands-on outdoor activities. Um, and you'll see a little bit more about that later. We have our natural resource officers that, you know, um, they're not out there to write citations and give tickets out. They're out there to let people understand what the rules and the laws are and give those verbal warnings when needed. And if they have to step up and do some other things, that is part of it too. And then also that accessible piece. And I'm going to pull up a list here very quickly on some of the things that we have added to be more accessible for everyone. Um, as I was putting this together, I wanted to, come up with something. We're working together for the betterment of all Ohioans. I understand that, you're a different agency and you're a different group. We're all in this thing together. Again, we um, do a lot of different events with different community outreach programs and local groups, as well as other state, agencies and departments. So just because we're a different department and we may not see all the things that you guys see, we want you to understand that we're here to be part of that and to make these adventures and make these trips a wonderful place for people to create memories. So some of the things that we have added and updated over the course of the last 4 years or so are some of these listed here. Making some of the cabins ADA acceptable and accessible. Bigger campsites so that if you have mobility issues, having wheelchair access and things like that, as opposed to bumpy ground and redoing those kind of things. Boat launches, making them accessible for folks that have wheelchairs or mobility, motorized carts and things like that. ADA kayak launch ramps is a new and something very popular now that we're seeing. We're getting those throughout different parks throughout the state. Um, Boardwalks that we have that are accessible, that are wide enough for folks to go out and be on the water and enjoy that feature. Playgrounds, those are brand new, and we're trying to make those bigger and better and available to all. And then we have our storybook trails. I know here at Wingfoot, we were probably the first one um, that is all paved. And we did that all our trails are paved, so it kind of lent itself very, very nicely to kind of keep that theme. So it's nice and wide, and folks have the ability to interact and do all those things. The other piece that I wanted to bring up today was that we have a Ohio State Parks Foundation, and that foundation is working with um, different businesses and different folks to enhance the experiences um, for just what we're talking about, the inclusivity of what's going on. These public spaces are for everyone, and the foundation is helping us to make sure that we can create these spaces or fix these spaces that need to be created. We're super popular, and so that's one of the big focuses. Some of the things that the foundation has already started to help us with are all-terrain wheelchairs and beach wheelchairs. You may have a wheelchair, or a client, or someone in the community may have that, but they may not be able to traverse some of the trails that they may want to access. And so some of the things that the foundation has done has allowed us to have these all-terrain wheelchairs that allow for certain areas within our parks and our trail system to be able to access. So for someone that may have loved to go out and see certain things, they may not have been able to reach that with what they had, their equipment. So now we have the ability in some of our areas, Hawking Hills and other keynote parks, they have the abilities to do that. Braille signs and physical aids, sensory displays. I'll give you guys a little secret. I am working currently right now, as of this morning, to create a Braille trail here at Wingfoot. And it's something that it's just a passion project for me. I want to be able to give back to the community. I've reached out to several folks throughout, and they have expressed an interest in that. And so those are the kind of things that the foundation has helped the parks through different companies and individuals to give back for all the Ohioans here. Again, you can see the accessible launch ramps and kayaks. Um, just makes it more user friendly. Real quick, I don't know if you guys know, but there are 75 state parks. Again, we go all the way from Lake Erie all the way down to the Ohio River. And we are one of the very few systems that is still free, which means that we do not charge to enter any of our state parks. You can come into any of the parks and use the facilities that we have at those places. Again, the last couple of years, the parks were the boom with the pandemic and all that was going on. We have never seen crowds and people as much as we have had over that time. And so in 2020, we hosted 2.7 million overnight guests. That's campgrounds and cabins and lodges and all those things. And then obviously folks outside hiking and biking and our paddle activities. So kayaking, canoeing, stand-up paddle boards, all those kind of activities have just gone through the roof. We've never seen anything quite like that. And so real quick, I don't want to have to sit here and read this through, but again, a lot of our facilities were created prior to the Americans with Disabilities Act. So, restroom facilities, some have stairs and makes it very hard for folks to access those things. Working with the foundation and through our director, giving us the opportunity to update and upgrade these facilities is a fantastic thing. We have something for everyone. Whether you're a birder and you just like to sit and watch birds, there's been several times where I've come into the park after a meeting late at night, and I've seen folks from Akron Children's Hospital just sitting at a park bench, reading, just kind of clearing a long day with sad children and sad families for various reasons, just needing a place that they feel safe to come to. Um, Again, we work super close with our law enforcement agency, and making sure that we have places like that is great. So there's some events that we have done, working very closely with our Autism Society within Summit County. We just hosted a fishing event that was open to that community. And we've also done some s'mores with Santa. We've done an Easter bunny Easter egg hunt. Some of those young men and women there was the first time they've ever seen a fish, touched a fish, had any interactions with fishing poles. And you can see in some of those photos our wonderful naturalists are assisting and giving information out. And that's the biggest piece that I wanted to kind of bring to the table here. We just want you guys to understand that we're in this with you, and there's anything that we can do to continue to build that relationship. That's kind of what we want to do. So I guess if you have any questions, I will obviously take those and do what I can.
Thank you very much for the presentation, Michael. We really appreciate all of the work that ODNR is doing for individuals across the state. We do have a couple of things in the chat I was going to bring to you real quick. One is ODNR going to provide ongoing education to their employees regarding service animals? One of the families has a daughter who struggled with access at time with people wanting to enforce old signage for a therapy dog that they have. Is signage going to be updated to be more accessible?
Yeah, and that's one of the big things we're working on right now is that older signage that is just clearly out of date. Obviously, if you have a service animal and it is marked as such, of course that animal is part of you, and so obviously we will allow you to enter facilities and anything that you need to do with that service animal. And again, Corey, you have my information. You can email me anything question wise, and if I don't have the answer, I will find out for you, and we can get that to whoever needs it. But absolutely, we do have some older signage that just needs cleaned up.
Okay, thank you. And then one other quick question here.
Yeah.
Are opportunities for individuals with DD to get a job at the parks? And if so, how many have you employed?
So I have personally, over my years as being a manager here, we've had 3 individuals that have had disabilities. And currently I have one on staff right now that has mobility issues. He has a missing leg. And we absolutely will bring folks like that on that, as long as they can interact and make us a better place. We find things, obviously we will adjust what we need to do. He works in maintenance, and I can tell you this, the litter has drastically disappeared as he goes around. He usually does, he's my later evening person. He has access to gators and other equipment, and takes care of meeting guests and customer service and interacting with our folks here at Wingfoot, with shelter reservations and a whole bunch of other things. So absolutely, love to have folks on board.
Perfect. And Tom, I can connect with you more on that as well. For the sake of time, we're going to move on. Michael, thank you so much for your presentation today and sharing everything. We're greatly appreciative. Next, we're going to move on to George Myers, who's joining us from the Tech Ambassadors. And as Stacy had alluded to earlier, they're looking for some family ambassadors. So George, thanks for being here today. We're excited to have you.
Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate talking to this group. We spend a lot of time talking to SSAs and other county board staff members, so this is nice change from that for us. I've got 2 slides, so this will be pretty brief. So I'm just going to share here and briefly just introduce what the Tech Ambassadors is all about. Many of you may have heard of this program, but this is a grant program funded by the department. And the express purpose of this program is for us to have recruited, hired, and trained adults with developmental disabilities across the state of Ohio to serve as peer mentors. So these are folks living all over the state whose express purpose is to share the technology that they use in their lives and how it makes them more independent with other folks. So we started this effort way back in 2020, and we did that mainly through virtual events. We found these 5 wonderful individuals, and they do live literally all across the state. Our grant was renewed last June for 2 additional years, so we'll be doing this throughout the next a little bit more than a year through 2023. This past fall, we found and hired 3 additional tech ambassadors. So these are all individuals who are passionate about technology, and they live in the state of Ohio. We've been doing these events where they're out there meeting their peers and talking to them. What we're going to do now, though, is we are going to add to that team. And you know what? I've got a little bit more information before I get to that. I want to make sure everybody understands how the current folks can help outside of the events that we put on. So those folks are available for personal consultations. So we will schedule a virtual meeting with you if you've got a situation in a family where you have a question about technology that we can help address. We will happily do that over Zoom or Teams or whatever platform that is. We'll join a team meeting or whatever, just meet with a family or an individual. We do have a resources page at our website with all kinds of helpful things, remote support providers, for example. And then we have what we think is a neat resource on our YouTube channel. So you can look us up on YouTube and go to, we've got a channel specifically for demos. See, these are short little videos that our tech ambassadors have done where they share examples of technology right in their homes and how they use it and what it does for them. All right, so here's how you can help us. And this was really the meat of what I wanted to talk about very briefly today. We are looking for 2 new tech ambassadors, but these are not going to be individuals. These are 2 different folks. We're looking for 1 family member of a person with a disability and 1 direct service provider. So in this group, I think we're specifically talking about a family member. So what we're looking for is someone who is, again, like our other tech ambassadors, passionate about technology and what it can do for folks in their lives. If you are that person or you know of that person, you can apply right on our website. So I'm going to quickly switch over our website. Okay, it's ohiotechambassadors.org. And if you go there, all you have to do is kind of scroll down a little bit to the section here that says, what is a tech ambassador? And right here, there's a job description you can read about. This is a part-time position. It's maybe 5 to 10 hours per week. And then if you think you would like to join our team, right here is an application. You can just click on that, fill it out, send that in. And I'll drop in the chat here in just a minute these URLs. If you guys would like this PowerPoint, I can forward that to Corey. But if that either describes you or you know somebody that you think would be a great representative of a family member for us to join our team, we would absolutely love to know about you. Any questions I could quickly answer?
Carved an hour out of my morning. I'm actually going to head back for stage.
Yeah, that is, I appreciate Aaron dropping that note. One of our tech ambassadors and I met with Aaron about some of the topics they were just talking about a month and a half ago. That's neat. All right, well, I'll go ahead and just drop this stuff in the chat. If no one has any questions, I'll turn that back over to Corey.
Thank you so much, George. We really appreciate that opportunity for families to get involved and engaged in the tech ambassador work. And thank you for sharing that with us here today. In our agenda, I was going to move into some updates for the family side of thing, but we are getting short on time. So what I'm going to do is include all of my information in a follow-up email to you with links and information and resources. What I would like to do now is take time to open it up to a conversation with everybody, and we can discuss it and hear from families what they want to share and what they want to say. Um, so we do have Deputy Director Steve Beha with us today, who is our Deputy Director of Policy. Unfortunately, Kim Hauk is away at a conference at this time, and she was unable to join us. As we get started in this conversation, one of the things that I really want to focus on is this is an opportunity for DODD to hear from all families and hear about things that are affecting multiple people in many different ways. If you do have a particular concern or a specific issue or problem with your services or supports, those will be handled with you on an individual basis. You're welcome to reach out to me, and I'm happy to connect with you in that regards. So I will open it up to Steve, and I know we have some questions about Appendix K, and I know Nyoka is still here as well. What updates or information would you like to provide in regards to Appendix K, and perhaps some of the other questions that are in the chat as well?
Back early this morning. It was
Yes, I typed a couple of things in, and I just essentially currently it is scheduled to expire on July 14th. We do have the 6-month unwinding period, which I know confuses people, but that takes us into January unless the federal public health emergency is extended again. People, I think right now are thinking that that may be the case because most folks do know that the federal administration, the presidential administration had committed to giving a 60-day notice if they were not going to extend, and we did not get that. So I think many people believe that it will most likely be extended again. We don't know for sure. So I think it's kind of a wait and see game. But currently, as it stands right now, that is the date. But we do need to remember we have that 6-month unwinding period. So families do have that additional 6 months to work through. It is not a hard and fast July 14th, it ends. And so teams do have those 6 months to work with, even if worst case scenario, it were to end. So that I do want people to keep that in mind. What else did I want to say? And then the decisions are, being discussed about the permanent services, and we are taking that feedback. And but I do just want people to understand that it is ultimately a federal program. And so what we're doing is taking feedback from families. We do understand that those services have been very valuable to families. We're hearing that very, very loud and clear. But then ultimately we have to take that to Ohio Department of Medicaid and the federal government and have conversations about what is compliant and how to make this all work. So that's kind of where we are.
Thank you, Nyoka. And Julie, I know you have your hand up. How are you today, Julie?
Hi, I'm Julie Nurse. I'm also friends with Julie Finley, so I probably can ask a lot of the questions that she is asking, and you guys invited us to this meeting. A lot of our concerns is there was discussions about keeping some of the Appendix K things for waiver 1 people, but I'm really addressing the IO kids and the more severe kids that you have this shared living opportunity for parents, but kids that can't go to day habs during the day, because my son personally has been kicked out of 2, being able to have a home care provider on the same day as shared living has been very beneficial to our family. And it seems like that is not one of the items on the agenda to keep. And, I wanted to say that it's great to all pat our backs and say how many people we service when we service a lot of lower functioning kids, but we need to really remember that there's a group of kids out there whose families are struggling to get by. And you're saying if they can't go to a day hab, they can stay home, but we're not going to give you a break too, when a higher functioning kid can go to a day hab and still get HPC services provided for them at night. And I'm not seeing that people are seeing there's a small community, there's a group of kids out there that need this support. And I feel like we service the higher functioning and seem to forget about the families that are struggling to get by. Does that make any sense, or is there talking about
No,
keeping that, or?
we absolutely are talking about that. We have gathered lots of information on that. There is an issue with duplication for that service, and that's why that was specifically put in the Appendix K. So that is an issue when we take that to CMS, that we will most certainly have to do some extensive work in order to keep it permanent. So there's definitely lots of talk about that with Ohio Department of Medicaid and how we would make that work going forward.
Well, why couldn't families be considered HPC providers? Because, for example, I'm asking for 5 HB, and I know I don't want to just use but I know my example has to be other families, but I'm asking for just 5 hours of HBC a day and then shared living. I could go in, and I've seen, because I'm also an HBC provider, I see families that get 10 hours of HBC a day. Well, my two things add up to the same value as someone who's having a stranger come into their house for 10 hours. I'm asking for 10 hours, 5 to be an HBC and 5 to be me. So
Right.
if you can't do shared living in HBC, why can't families be HBC too?
Well, yes, the issue is the daily rate shared living. So it's the way we have set up the service. So our
Yeah,
choice is, and we don't need to go into great detail here, is we would have to revamp the entire shared living service to keep it
gotcha.
that way because it's a duplication. They're the identical
Yeah.
service, but it's a duplication. So we yeah, it's going to take extensive work.
I understand, but I've already been, you said Appendix K was going through July 14th, and I just got turned down for both. So it seems to be that the billing system's already rejecting those, just to let you know. Now, is there another option where families could start with kids like Danny, could start a day hab program? I saw one example where they could create smaller day habs of 4 kids or less, that they're out in the community and the funding is more. Is that an option for lower functioning kids? Was I reading that correctly?
I think you're going to need to say that for me one more time.
I read something where people could create a day program, and if it's 4 kids or less, and they're completely out in the community and not in a setting, that they could be funded by a little bit more and maybe pay staff higher because the kids are more challenging. Is that still an option to do?
Okay, and you don't mean children, you really mean adults, right?
Yes, adults. My
Okay.
son's
Okay.
22. And
Because
he's always going to be my kid. I hate to say it.
Okay.
Actually, he's 23 today. So,
Okay, you're throwing me off a little bit with the kids. So
yeah.
I think you mean community integrated adult day. So
Yeah, but I
yes,
heard that people could create ones that's groups 4 and
or
smaller,
smaller, yes.
and then they get funded at a higher level. Is that something that could be considered for lower, functioning kids? That
Well,
then you're hiring, 2
it
people for 4 kind of thing.
well, it's yeah, and I don't want to get too deep in the weeds here, but it's not about the functionality of the person necessarily. It's about the purpose of the service. So, but yes, there is a new service that is for the purpose of getting someone out into the community to, have them become more integrated and become a part of their community. So yes, that is in fact true.
Okay.
So, okay. But
All
we
right.
are just, I guess, to reassure, we are working on shared living and that service.
So should have, just out of curiosity, billing shouldn't have changed from Appendix K.
No, but Appendix K billing requires special manual input from the department. So
Yeah.
if you're not working with your county board to make that happen, your billing will get rejected.
Oh, I was being paid for the past 8 months this way, and suddenly I got rejected. But that's
Yeah.
personal, and this is a group call.
Yep.
I can
Yep.
handle to figure out why that's wrong after.
Yep.
That's not what I'm here for. I'm just here to say that we got to keep in mind that there's lower functioning kids out there that can't go to day habs. and
Yep.
their families also need a break at home.
Yep,
And you
got it.
can't have shared living and HBC considered the same thing. That's all. Thank you.
Okay. Yep.
Thank you very much, Julie. We appreciate that. We've got about 10 minutes left, and I see 2 hands up. I'm going to turn it over to Becky. Hi, Becky. How are you? Or Becky, do you need to use the chat? I don't know if you're able to access your microphone or not. We'll see if we hear from Becky. But I know Patricia also has her hand up as well. Hi, Patricia.
Hi, and I will be brief. I just wanted to echo the sentiments of the parent that just talked. I have very, very similar concerns with HBC and shared living. My son requires 24-hour supervision. I can have an HBC worker come and work with me for an hour or two, and then I cannot bill the rest of the day. So, just to reiterate that this is a serious, serious concern to parents who need a break and do not have the opportunity to take a break at times because of how this double billing is. It's not family friendly, and we as families are feeling the effects of that. I don't know who came up with the idea or who set up this double billing, but it's definitely affecting families tremendously with us carrying the load we carry and not being able to take a break for even an hour to still bill. So that's it.
Yes, and we understand and appreciate that. We
think
do
we have-
have just, yep, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Steve.
I was just going to say one of the things I wanted to make sure we said before the end of the meeting here in regards to all of the discussion around shared living and HPC and just the services in general is that we will be releasing an RFP here shortly that's really going to take a wide lens view of all of our services, our reimbursement, our assessment. That includes AAI, ODDP, shared living, technology, everything. And the RFP will be out. We hope to get a subject matter expert that can really help us through what our service system can be modernized to look like going forward. It's not a short-term fix. It's not going to happen tomorrow. We're talking a year or two, probably 2 years before we start seeing the results of it. But these are things that have not been looked at for 15 years in some cases. And so we really want to have a large picture view of what our service system is. And as everybody has, said here, how can we make it more friendly, both for families? How can we make it more person-centered for the people that are receiving the services? And how can we make it so that we can increase our provider capacity by offering reimbursement rates that are attractive to providers to provide the services. So I think all of those things are going to be encompassed in this RFP. It's big work. It's really big work. It's going to take some time, but I just wanted to make sure we said that on this meeting so that everybody knows that your concerns are definitely being heard. Please continue to send them to us. This is all things that we're going to funnel to the subject matter expert to help us design what the new system looks like. So again, really appreciate all the feedback and comments, and please keep them coming.
Yep,
Okay.
that's exactly what I was going to say.
Can you guys hear me now?
We can. There's a lot of echo. It's difficult to make out what you're saying.
Can you hear me now?
That's better.
Well, I can't hear you. I just wanted to mention about the children, parents of minor children, they need to be kept as providers and paid, and what's happening with the provider support, quarterly supports. And hopefully you guys can hear me because I can't hear you.
So keeping parents as providers for minor children is the second big topic that we are continuing to work on with Ohio Department of Medicaid. And then we'll also work with CMS on that project as well. We're taking all of your feedback and input. So yes, we appreciate that. And Corey, if you could help me, what was the second thing?
I'm not sure.
Okay, I'm back. We were told that we would be getting, as a provider, a quarterly bonus And that would be starting the 1st of July with the first tech possibly in October. We were told by Summit County and Stark County both. And then all of a sudden the DODD departments got really quiet on it. So we don't know whether we're going to get a bonus or we're not as a provider.
Yeah, so that I think you're referring to the 6.5% proposal that was given to us by the county boards, and that we are working on getting approved right now through CMS. So the last, and Nyoka, you may have more information than I do, but the last I have heard on this is that it was submitted to CMS for approval. They came back and asked some questions about it. All those questions were answered and sent back to CMS for their review. To my knowledge, again, Nyoka, I think it's still at CMS at this point in time, and we haven't got a full approval on it yet.
Right.
I know Director Hauk is adamant that if we do get that approval, it will start July 1. We are getting everything in order behind the scenes so that as soon as CMS says yes, we will have everything ready to go, including FAQs, information on how to access it. And Becky, I'm not sure, I'm assuming you're an independent provider. It's going to be real easy on the independent provider side of things. It'll just come your way. For agency providers, they'll have to opt into the program as well as provide us with some data in order to continue to receive the quarterly payments. So that's where we are right now. Again, we are committed to the July 1st date, but we are, that's all contingent on CMS giving us approval for the program to move forward.
Okay, Stark County said that this would be an ongoing program with no end. And then I talked to my county, which is Portage County, and they said, no, it's only ongoing until the next budget, which is next July. So which is it? Is it ongoing or is it ongoing until the next budget?
So the commitment that we've received from the county boards is that it will be a 1-year program with a review at the end of that 1-year span to see where the budget talks are at that point in time, and if it's going to be rolled into a budget line item or if it's going to continue down the path that it is right now. I'll say the intention is for it to continue, but from what source and how it and what it looks like, we are not sure at this point in time, just because the budget process hasn't started yet. So the intent is for it to continue, but what the funding source for it continuing is, we don't know at this point in time.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Becky. And then Steve, real quick, I think I saw in the chat a question about workforce. Any progress on the DSP crisis?
Yeah, so I can speak a little bit to some DODD initiatives and also some work that is going on with the administration as a whole. So the DODD Workforce Crisis Task Force has continued to meet, been meeting since May of 21, and has representatives from all different stakeholder groups, providers, families, trade organizations, county boards, superintendents, department staff, and others. So that group continues to meet, and Corey, I think in your update, if you could send out the link to the Workforce Crisis Task Force webpage, it has all the meeting notes, all the videos from those meetings, so you are more than welcome to review all those. It also has links to future meetings if you would like to listen into those. So all that is available on the website. Some movement that has been made, one is we worked with the Governor's Office of Workforce Transformation, and we have DSPs listed now at the top of the critical jobs list as well as the in-demand jobs list. That is crucial because that is where, if somebody comes to a Job and Family Services office and is looking for a job, that is the list that they go off of to help folks find a job. Another important piece of that is by being on that list, DSPs now qualify for some WIOA funding, so workforce innovation funding, that is federal funds to help folks get started in a job. So covers things like training, equipment that they might need for their job and things like that. That's all funneled through the local Job and Family Services. So now folks that come in and say, I want to be a direct support professional, have the opportunity to access that funding through their, the WIOA funding through their Job and Family Services office. Another big movement is we are working cross-agency with multiple departments to put out a public service announcement around direct care in general. So we're working with the Department of Aging, Mental Health, Health, and ourselves are all working together to create a PSA. We just got the final cut, I believe, late last week. It's going for sign off this week. And so hopefully within the next month or so, you will start seeing commercials on TV, billboards, social media ads, and everything, just to make the public more aware of direct support professionals, what their job is, and the critical need for them throughout the state. And then the final thing that I'll say around the workforce is that the administration as a whole started some internal discussions around workforce across HHS, or Health and Human Services agencies, back when Director Davis was here last year. It is now kicking into the next phase where they are opening it up for stakeholder engagement and public testimony. So the first step in that process was a survey that was sent out to try to gather topics from all the various stakeholders. Again, everybody in the aging, mental health, and disability systems could respond. And that really will provide this task force with the direction moving forward. Who are the subject matter experts that could come in and testify? Who are the folks that can contribute data and information to the overall picture of what the workforce looks like here in Ohio? So I know those are all kind of big picture, but those are three pretty big things that have just occurred within the last month that we're looking forward to what the fruits of those will be. So hopefully that helps answer the question a little bit.
Thank you very much, Steve. We appreciate those updates. We are out of time. I do apologize. We do have our next Family Advisory Council meeting on September the 21st. We're invite you to join us there again. In the meantime, you're always welcome to reach out to me. My email is currently on the screen. Becky, I think you may have your hand up, but you're welcome to shoot me an email and I can make sure that we get you taken care of and answer your question for you. So we do appreciate everybody being here, and don't hesitate to reach out to me if you have questions, and I will shoot an email out with a lot of these resources and links that we've discussed here today. And we look forward to seeing you in September. Thank you, everybody.